Football. But not today's football. We gotta go back to early 20th century football.
That the history of York is the history of England, and it certainly has at least 2,000 years to its credit.
Even though the first World Cup was held in 1930 by Uruguay, England was still very dominant and thought they were the world of football. But this little Eastern European team will get second place in the 1938 World Cup. This team was Hungary. Hungary will start what's called their golden era of football. Hungary would be back on the world stage in 1952 with the Olympic Games held in Helsinki. They beat Romania 2-1, Italy 3-0, Turkey 7-0, Sweden 6-0, and Yugoslavia in the finals 2-0, winning their first Olympic title. The next year they would face England in Wembley Stadium in London.
England in white shirts take the field with their Hungarian opponents at Wembley. 100,000 people put up the houseful notice as the visitors, recognized as the best side in Europe, immediately swing to the attack.
Now, at this time, the English were unbeaten for 90 years at home. They didn't think that some hot new Eastern European team was going to come in and smack them.
And he bangs it past Merrick for a goal. Hungary 1 up in the first 45 seconds. Here they go again, with some of the most perfect teamwork ever seen on the green grass of Wembley. Now Hungary are really in their stride. Puskás, with superb control, crashes in yet another. 3-1 to the visitors. Goalie Grosics and his teammates have hardly stopped rejoicing when Bosic takes a free kick and Puskás finishes the job. 4-1 now. It certainly looks all over for the Englishman. From the wing, Bosic races in and cracks home Hungary's 5th goal. But the massacre isn't over yet. Hidikuti, who's already scored 2, makes it a hat-trick. By 6-3, Hungary, the most brilliant team ever to visit Britain, shatter the unbeaten home record England has held in 90 years of football.
England, though, thought that they would get their revenge in the very next year as they would play Hungary in Budapest. However, this one was even worse.
Megállítja egy pillanatra a labdát, aztán laposan befelé gurítgat, látja azt, hogy Kocsis jó helyzetben van, lőtt, annyi lövés, gól! Van a hálóban, gólt is, de a labda is. Nem tudom, merrik, tisztatál. Aztán Tibor kiugratja Hidegkuti a 16-oson belül lő, gól! Ez van a 6-os, az angolok háló.
England lost 7-1, which still remains the worst defeat in English football history. At the time, news in England started spreading that it was the old style of English boots that were their problem. Journalists like Charles Bouchon and Hunter Davies said that the old traditional English boot was outdated and too heavy to keep up with the innovative non-domestic football technology. Comparing the English work boot to the Hungarian soccer shoe, there was a couple pounds difference between the two. But this could just be chalked up as an English excuse, right? Well, that it was until the 1954 World Cup. Hungary was coming into this World Cup one of the best in the world. In the finals, they would play Western Germany, and the two teams on a cold, rainy day in Switzerland would duke it out.
Now it's Tibor. Tibor shoots, it comes loose, it's Puskás, he shoots, a goal! A goal, it's there. 1-0 for Hungary. Again they come. Again, bad pass back, and it's in the net again, 2-0. Now here they come, on the attack. Round, dribbles. Through, into the centre, and a shot, now a shot, yes, a goal! A goal scored by Morlock, 2-1. Over comes the second corner, up goes Round. There's a foot to it, and into the goal. 2-2 for Germany. 2-2 in the final of the World Cup.
Two teams exchanged goals in the first half. However, the Germans had a little trick up their sleeve at halftime. You see, the Germans were wearing a boot called the Standard Model, which had replaceable studs. Considering the rainy climate and the wet grass, the Germans took out the old studs and replaced them with longer studs in order to have more traction and more stability on the pitch.
And now, here's Rahn. Rahn with a chance. He shoots, he beats his man, he shoots, a goal! 3-2 for Germany.
The Germans would score 2 goals in the second half and win the 1954 World Cup 3-2, beating the Hungarians.
Unbeatable Hungarians. 4 years these Hungarians have gone without defeat, and now it's fallen to Germany.
Now, this football boot that the Germans used, the standard model, was created by one man. His name was Adi Dassler, otherwise known as the founder of Adidas. This German win in the 1954 World Cup would be later known as the Miracle of Bern, and has forever changed football boot design forever. The football boots worn in 1954 have changed a lot compared to today. From the lightness of the boot to the design and the color scheme, these football boots are made for optimal performance in today's game. However, as a graduate student in biomechanics, I'm more concerned of these football boots in a different perspective. Now, these football boots are great for performance, don't get me wrong. However, there is some controversy within the world of biomechanics that suggests that the outsole, or the studs, can impact the difference in injury prevention. So, what do I mean by this? Essentially, the stud design of these football boots can be a little different. It primarily goes down to two different studs. You have your more standardized elliptical stud, that is just your basic, almost outdated considered stud. While you also have the newer version, the newer style of stud, also known as the bladed stud. Now, these studs can be in a chevron shape or in a more vertical shape. Now, these studs have been more prevalent within the recent years, as they provide more traction and more stability on the playing field. However, this is where the controversy starts. Does having more traction help the athlete reduce injuries? This article published by Smeets and their team suggests that extra grip always isn't a good thing. In this study, they were using a mobile testing apparatus with a lower leg prosthetic attached to it. The researchers concluded that these bladed stud designs were associated with significantly higher torques than their normal stud counterparts. So what do these torque forces really mean? Well, it's talking about this external and internal rotational force that goes up the leg when somebody either steps or does a cut, right? A change in direction. Well, when somebody's wearing the bladed stud design, it's going to be a lot higher. These forces, these loads are going to be a lot higher than if they wear the normal elliptical stud. What does this mean for injuries? Well, these excessive loads are going to have to go somewhere, and they're going to be eaten by these ligaments within our leg. Particularly looking at the knee, for example, a ligament such as the anterior cruciate ligament, or ACL, will have a lot of load put when the tibia does this internal and external rotation. Now, I have an entire separate video talking about ACL injuries and why they happen and why there's so many of them in sports, especially in cutting sports such as soccer. So if you're interested in that, check out that video after this one. All right. So it sounds like the writing is on the wall for these bladed studs, right? Get them out of here. Why are we manufacturing these? And why are we trending towards more and more development of bladed studs? Well, I told you that this was a controversial topic, and we're only hearing one side of it right now. Let me talk to you about a couple articles that suggest that there is nothing wrong with these bladed studs, and the research that was previously mentioned, we're actually looking at it a little bit wrong. For starters, let's talk about a research done by Grund and Center. They used a similar machine to create a simulation for the different types of outsole designs between the elliptical and bladed studs. However, what they tested on was using real-world ACL injury applications for testing these shoes. What were the results? There was no difference between the blades and the elliptical studs. Specifically, what they mentioned in the discussion portion of their research paper was that the previous studies that saw the differences between the bladed and the elliptical studs were in a laboratory-like setting. And in these laboratory-like settings, they were able to increase the amount of internal and external rotation to extreme amounts to find the differences between the two. However, in their test, they were saying that, hey, the human body isn't going to have that much load get put onto the actual leg, to the tibia, and to the rest of the leg. So when looking at it in a practical setting where real humans would probably have the same amount of torque, the same amount of load, there's no differences between the two. Moreover, another study looked at kinetic, so the forces, kinematic, so joint angles and velocity, as well as EMG or electromyography, which shows muscle activation, between the two studded designs. In this study, they were using human participants instead of the machine using a simulated design, and what they found was still no differences between the bladed and the elliptical cleats in terms of ACL injury movements. You think I should have had a better presentation for these boots? I mean, these are the boots that I'm wearing currently. Oh, actually, let me show you the ones that I have. These. I'm not wearing these anymore. This one looks all right. This one looks fine. There's a little bit of damage here. Let me show you what the other cleat looks like. This is what happened to my other cleat. I'm pretty hard on them, if you can't tell already. The more you know. So the idea of different stud designs eliciting a higher rate of injuries is a controversial one at best. There's a lot more research that needs to be done here between the two, because honestly, with the research provided in this video, you could probably make a case either side of what you want to believe in. You know, there are many different factors that can increase injuries. It's not just one little thing like a stud design, right? If we're looking very narrowly down into this rabbit hole, we can kind of distract ourselves by saying that, hey, there aren't any other variables, this is the main thing. But it's not the case. In real life situations, there are many different variables that you have to account for in order to try to prevent injuries from occurring. Ultimately, what I'm trying to say is that it's a more convoluted topic than just black and white for reducing injuries. And that's what I really love about it, is you have to figure out and try to find if there is a solution for preventing these injuries and accounting for all different types of variables. One variable that's being highly discussed right now is the surface conditions, especially within the NFL, between turf and natural grass. Now, I don't know enough right now to talk about that in full confidence, but it's definitely something that I'm interested in learning more about. So if you guys are interested in learning more about that with me, I can do some research and make a video on that coming up soon. So let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your comments on whether or not you use old school elliptical studs or your newer style bladed studs, or if you just wear turf shoes or just normal tennis shoes. I was playing indoor pickup the other day, and it's on a turf field, and I was sitting down next to one of my teammates, and I saw that they were just wearing normal tennis shoes, and I said, "You're wearing normal tennis shoes for playing pickup?" And he was like, yeah, I feel more comfortable in them. And I was like within your foot or what? He was like, no, I actually like the traction on the turf. Like, I don't like it when I have studs. And my biomechanics mind was just going crazy with the amount of slipping that he could probably have and injure himself. I didn't want to say anything. It wasn't the time or wasn't the place, but I was going crazy in my mind. But to each their own. I would love to hear your comments on that. But without further ado, hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day.